like to feel good in life? Pretty much, I'm hoping, everyone. And how many of you like to see yourselves when you're not feeling so good in life? How do you sort of deal with that? Does that never happen? It happens, right? So the question really is, how many of us, at some point or the other in our lives, have dealt with some kind of emotional or mental problem? Or know somebody, our neighbor, our friend, our relative, our child, our mother, anyone that goes acknowledged in your life, anyone you care about. I often wonder why people don't talk about this. I'm part of the Young Global Leaders program at the World Economic Forum, and every leadership summit I've been to in the last few years, I try and ask this question to people who are business leaders, leaders in society, political leaders around the world. And maybe there are more people talking about it in the US, maybe than in Japan, maybe more people talking about it in Chennai than in Delhi. But that's why this conversation has got to be had. Frankly, it was a lot easier for me to come here and talk about entrepreneurship or culture or the successes of the art world, but it's a lot harder to talk about your scars. So here I am today. When I was 10 years old, I woke up one morning and went to the loo to brush my teeth, and my mom asked me if I thought that her toothpaste was poisoned. And I wasn't really sure what to say. I didn't understand the question. I didn't know what the answer was. And I had several such baffling questions for years and months after that I didn't understand, only because I was 10. Several traumatic moments came and went, and I had no idea how to deal with them. Nobody had any idea. We didn't have a name, we didn't have a face, we didn't know what it was. And the disease of schizophrenia took my mother away from me and from herself for no fault of hers for 10 years. I didn't see her for 10 years while I didn't talk about it. I went to school every day, I went to college after that, I met with my friends, I led a normal life, aced in sports, aced in studies, went to every party, but I didn't talk about the thing that mattered the most to me. Because how can a child talk about not knowing where their mother is? How can a child talk about the traumas and the stigma and the denial that society imposes on you? How do you live every day, and where do you find that courage? So for me, I had to go through my journey from complete ignorance to some sort of understanding, my journey from complete denial to some acceptance of what life had just given me, and from deep shame to some sort of self-respect. 25 years ago, you couldn't Google the word schizophrenia or bipolar or manic depressive or any of this. No one even knew what these words meant. No one had the tools or the ability to even understand what it takes to live with mental illness. And so there was nowhere to go. I had to deal with my shame. I had to deal with the stigma that society imposed on me. And as hard as it was every day, it made me ask the question, who am I? Where am I? What is my sense of identity? And how do I break free? And a few years later, as I saw with both my parents, I walked into the Rashtrapati Bhavan to get an award from the president in the same room that India got its independence. And I asked myself that question. I'm here today because I was able to break free. I'm not here today because of any business achievements. I'm not here today because I'm a woman of substance. I'm here today because I was able to make that very small journey that most people find very hard. But I don't know what society and what the ecosystem and what this country can do to us as little young people when we're growing up and we have nowhere else to turn to. Today, I'm able to see the world for what it is. I'm thankful I learn from my mother every day as she holds her own and comes back and integrates into mainstream society. She's the most active grandparent in my 4-year-old's life, and I'm grateful for that. But I know that not all stories have a happy ending. It's hard. For a bulk of society, think about people across the country. We're talking in urban centers. I'm not even talking about rural India where 60% of the people live. In Delhi, in Bombay, in Chennai, in these cities, the level of acceptance and understanding is so low that for most families suffering for any kind of mental problems, the results are they're abandoned, they're hidden, they're locked away, they're outcast. It's very, very difficult for families to come back and deal with their friends, their peers, because they are judged. It's very hard to then find your own place in life. And that is the problem that this country is facing today. We don't have the facilities, we don't have the care, we don't have the diagnostics, but most of all, we don't have the mind space, the humaneness that it takes to actually acknowledge that this problem exists. And that's why it's so important to talk about it. The statistics around mental health are even more scary. India accounts for 15% of the mental health problems in this country. About 6 to 7% of our population has some sort of mental health problems or the other. And yet 90% never have access to any kind of treatment, because India has one psychiatrist for every 4 lakh patients. So these are the statistics. We're equipped with 2% of the professionals that this country needs. 4,000 psychiatrists, 3,000 social workers, 1,000 psychologists for this country. This is the crisis in India. But please ask yourself when you hear these statistics, are the statistics the problem? Are the facilities the problem? Is the lack of care or the lack of awareness the problem? Or is it our own abilities to actually wake up and seek help? How many of us actually get up every day and say, I will pay attention to my neighbor, to that kid in school, to my college friend? How many of us actually are able to get up and break the shackles of shame and get help? So please ask yourselves not to put money on this, not to put effort on this, but just to think a little bit differently. Please ask yourselves, how are you going to deal with this? Anybody you know, how would you help them? Think about the little children growing up in our country. I owe it to my 4-year-old daughter here and to my mother. But I owe it most of all to my country and to myself, because I feel it's my responsibility not to stand here and talk about any successes in life. It's my responsibility to talk about the scars, because maybe that will make a difference. And please ask yourselves, the next time it comes up, will you talk about it? Thank you.